Hey, hey, voters in the 63rd. This is your Libertarian candidate. Cheers, toast to me. This is a water, not a beer. I don't know if I have to tell you that. But boy, it's hot. 95 out there today. I'm kind of tired. I got my my mask on. Social distancing. It's COVID season. And this is a special video on the Joint Select Committee on the COVID-19 pandemic. Before I get to that, though, two minor edits on my July 4th Independence Day video. I mentioned Matt Hall is having a degree in political science. He does not. He's got a degree in business management or something like that, and a Juris Doctorate, what I guess makes him a business attorney. But that explains a lot. That explains why he has no nuance between capitalism and socialism, and why he's all talking points with no depth. He's a pretty shallow thinker, not independent, and it is what it is. But I had that inaccuracy in my last video. The other inaccuracy was when I called the call center bill the Protection Act when it was the Retention Act. Now, retention is protection. A fine is protectionism for offshoring jobs. And so what I was saying is true. I just used the wrong word. And basically everything I said in that video I think still stands, and it's fine and it's good. So I'm not editing it. I'm not re-uploading it. I'm leaving it as it is. I just make those two little distinctions here in this video as sort of an addendum, just so you know that I'm on top of it. As much as I can be as a human being. You know, nobody's perfect. But it's good content. And that's what I'm bringing to you is, I think, decent content videos. And so I wanted to talk about the Joint Select Committee on the COVID-19 pandemic. And it's not a long-standing committee. It's sort of a temporary committee. It's not like the House Oversight Committee. They have it every year. It's been there for God knows how long. And I ran into the website that has these archived from the state of Michigan, where you can go look at these things. Old videos, all the videos, the current videos. You can even stream them live as they're happening, which is kind of cool too. And so what I did was I downloaded the video, I watched it, a couple of them, and I thought they were interesting. My competitor, Matt Hall, is the chair of this committee. And I was like, oh, how did this committee get started? And guess what? You can find that. You can find that information out. H.R. 20, House Resolution 20. And, you know, according to my July video, I talk about House resolutions and what a waste of time they are. You know, this one's no different. It's basically Republicans' butthurt in the House and the Senate that Governor Gretchen Whitmer gets to make executive orders and rules without them. That's what this H.R. 20 is about. They're butthurt. And the only thing they can do is create a committee out of thin air and bitch about it. And so, of course, they would spin that in a different way, I'm sure. But ultimately, that's what it's about. It's a power struggle. And the ultimate hypocrisy is like from Representative Hall, who loves bringing federal matters into the state. But he doesn't bitch about, for 1 minute, another executive, the President of the United States, making his executive orders without the consent of the legislature. So that's where the hypocrisy lies with guys like Matt Hall, is that at all levels of government, somebody's doing something that you disapprove of because of their party affiliation, because it's Gretchen Whitmer, because it's a woman, because she's a Democrat. I don't like what she's doing and these executive orders suck. But because it's a dude, it's a bro, it's a Republican, it's Trump, I'm gonna not speak to that. And that is the ultimate hypocrisy. However you feel about executive orders or who's giving them, the way you should feel about a hypocrite is negative, regardless of party affiliation. And that's one of the many problems is this team mentality. Because my team member up at the White House is doing something one way, the exact same way as somebody not on my team in a very similar position at the executive level, in the executive branch, one at the state, one at the federal level. I don't like this one because I don't like her. I don't like her color blue, and I don't like the D in front of her name. But over here, I like the color red, and that's my team, and it's a bro. And now I approve of it. That's the ultimate hypocrisy. It's not about the process. It's not about the policy. It's about who and the team. That's what you should be offended at as a voter. That's what you should be mad about as a voter. As a voter, you should consider a libertarian like me, who's not going to be part of the BS machine. I'm not going to be engineer chewing on the BS train. I'm going to call it like it is. Total hypocrisy on the part of Matt Hall. So there you have it. Now, moving on to my next point, because we're going to talk about this select committee on the COVID-19 pandemic. I also talk about in many other videos, so besides House resolutions being total garbage and just junk, I talk about propaganda. And not as though WBCK, which is a radio station in Battle Creek, not as though I expect stellar journalism from WBCK. It's not like the New York Times, the LA Times, the Chicago Tribune, the Cleveland Plain Dealer, none of that. It's not excellent journalism, but it's not even informative with the 5 W's: who, what, when, where, why. And when I get done explaining what I'm talking about with respect to the Joint Committee here, you'll see what I'm talking about. But in this WBCK article, they call this committee a bipartisan committee. Nothing could be further from the truth. That is a 100% lie. WBCK is wrong about that. It's only bipartisan in the Democratic and Republican representation in the committee. Yes, there's Democrats, there's Republicans. It's not bipartisan in the number of Republicans and Democrats. In fact, we just talked about H.R. 20. H.R. 20 says, we're going to make a committee because we're butthurt, and the governor's doing these things, and we don't like it. So we're going to make a complaint bitching committee where we all get together and we complain about it. We're going to choose 3 Republicans from the House, 3 Republicans from the Senate, 2 Democrats from the House, 2 Democrats from the Senate. Guess what? Now we've got, this is so stupid, we've got 6 Republicans, 4 Democrats. Guess what we just built ourselves? Yes, we built ourselves our own little majority on this pointless committee that's to sit there and complain about the Democrat. What a waste of time. What an absolute waste of time. And it should be disappointing to you hearing this from me.
I am disappointed yet again.
Reading the article from WBCK, which does not talk about the number of Republicans and the number of Democrats. And you know why it's total BS? And I like WBCK. I listen to WBCK. I listen to The Rank Show. I listen to Rush Limbaugh on occasion on there. I listen to the Gallagher on there. Mike Gallagher, I think his name is. I've emailed Mike Gallagher. I've talked to him via email. And so I listen to right-wing stuff. I listen to left-wing stuff. I listen to center. I listen to everything left, right, and in between. And so I think I have a pretty good authority to say some of the things that I'm saying and the way that I say them. And some of it is strong language, but it's intentional. It's to wake you up as a voter. It's to wake you up as a listener and to say, you know what? He might be right about that. He's saying some interesting things. I'm going to think about voting for this guy. The libertarian candidate, you say? I'm going to go look and see what a libertarian is. Maybe I'm a libertarian. And so WBCK is, that piece that they did is total BS. And so at the end of the article, and this is why it's propaganda 101, at the end of the article, it's what they don't say more than what they do say. But at the end of the article, it said, oh, other members of the committee are. Do you think for 1 second the person went and read H.R. 20 before they wrote that piece? Do you think they counted the number of R's and the number of D's in that list at the bottom? Do you think that anybody reading that article reads who's on the committee? Probably not. Or even counts them. And so That committee is illegitimate. It's a sham. It's a joke. It's meant as a complaining little pity committee about what the governor's doing. And the hypocrisy of the Republicans to complain about what the governor's doing with executive order and not for 1 second make a House resolution to complain about Donald Trump or anybody else that's in the executive branch, like Barack Obama or Bill Clinton or George Bush and the many, many other presidents, far too long for me to even talk about, who have all used executive orders, not even during a pandemic. So it's not as though Gretchen Whitmer is up there making executive orders that everybody gets a free ice cream cone at Cold Stone and just absurd level stuff that has nothing to do with a pandemic. This poor woman, Gretchen Whitmer, is up there during a pandemic making relevant, pertinent executive orders to fight pandemic level stuff here. And however you feel about wearing masks or not wearing masks, or whether we're in a pandemic or whether it's a shamdemic or a plandemic or whatever, what I'm talking about is her making actions and executive orders in context. And everything is in context. Everything has a context. Everything has a reason. And so what I'm basically saying is that the problem with government is that power is to the party, not the process. And I talked about it in my Soresco Green video, how it's all about party and who has the majority. And this committee is a microcosm of the abuse of power from the Republican Party. Now, it could be an abuse of power in another year from the Democratic side of the House and the side of the Senate. And if they're the ones in power, now they're going to step on the Republican and say, like, no, you're doing it our way. It's our way or the highway. And that's why nothing gets done in the state, and that's why the state suffers, and we as citizens in the state suffer. So let's talk about this video now. I've complained enough. But the chair is Matt Hall, the Republican, my competitor in the 63rd. The vice chair is Vanessa Guerra. She's a Democrat from Saginaw. She's a House member, a House rep as well. There's 6 Republicans, 4 Democrats. And Vanessa Guerra says, hey, we've got 10 amendments that we would like to make to the committee rules. This first video is about committee rules. And Republicans say, hey, this is how we're going to run the committee. Democrats say, no, we've got 10 other things. We'd like to make amendments. We'd like it to you to run the show a little differently.
I have placed before each member proposed rules for the Joint Select Committee on the COVID-19 pandemic. These rules have been carefully drafted, mirroring previous Joint Select Committees in an effort to fully evaluate the current pandemic that is affecting the entire state. And I understand that we have some amendments. So for all of the amendments except for number 5 and 8, Rep. Guerra, can you speak to those?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I will be speaking to some amendments. Senator Hallier will have the others. I will note that the chair does not have the ability to limit the voice of a member serving on this committee, and so I'm disappointed that we are starting this off with this action. And I would expect that moving forward, you show me the same agreeable attitude that you've shown my Senate colleagues in allowing them to speak to these amendments as you do to me serving as Minority Vice Chair. The first amendment, Amendment 1, a vote of the Rule 3, changing a vote of the concurring majorities of the members serving from each chamber of both majority and minority parties. This is to reflect our goal to make sure that this committee is as bipartisan as it can be. And if we are not allowing our minority party members' voices to be on a level playing field with the majority, then naturally that is not being followed. Amendment 10, the chairperson, subject to appeal, or majority of the committee members serving, including at least one committee member from the minority party, may rule that an item or topic of conversation is irrelevant. We ask for this because obviously we would not want all of our topics that we bring up during discussion to be deemed irrelevant, which is the current power of this committee as it stands to do so to all minority parties serving. Those are my amendments.
On all 10 of these amendments, every single time, it's a 6-4 vote. Republicans are no, and Democrats are yes. And the 6 outweigh the 4, and it's a no every time.
Thank you. Rep. Guerra then moves to adopt Amendment 1. Clerk, will you please call the roll?
Chairman Hall.
No.
Senator Nesbitt. No. Representatives Cali. No. O'Malley. No. Guerra.
Yes.
Carter. Yes. Senators Lasada. No. Schmidt. No. Pertel. Yes. Polyeck. Yes. Mr. Chair, there are 4 yeas, 6 nays, and 0 passes. Amendment number 1 is defeated.
I am disappointed yet again.
And then at the very end, it says the last thing they do is a vote to adopt the rules. Guess what you get? 4 yeses, 6 nos.
However, as you have likely gathered from the plethora of amendments that my colleagues and I have put forward, we are deeply concerned about the legitimacy of this committee. And we are concerned because the rules strip us of any power to set an agenda, to take part in setting an agenda, I should say. They strip us of the power to determine what is relevant in discussions that are held before us. And they strip us of any power to ensure that recommendations that are made on behalf of this committee are reflective of all members of this committee. I would say that the rules passed today, while I recognize they largely reflect the rules of standing committees that we've all served on and we all serve on, that this committee is much unlike any of our standing committees. This committee has an eye towards immediacy, and that is reflected in the very resolution that created this committee, where it says that our recommendations are meant to prevent or prepare for similar emergencies in this state. We know that the science tells us that if we do not take the proper safety protocols right now, that we will suffer later down the road. And with that, I think that typically standing committees, the work that is done in those committees is not implemented till months, if not years down the road. The work that we do today to save lives, to save jobs, will be reflected immediately, and because of this, this puts us in a far different position than the standing committees that we've all served on in the past. I do believe that Michiganders, the majority of Michiganders, they don't care what political party we're from. They just want to ensure that we're doing all we can to ensure that they are safe, that we're helping them through this financial crisis and through the mental health crisis that many of them are facing. They want us here working together to alleviate the pain that many of them are going through right now. And I'm fearful that the makeup and the rules of this committee that we've created serve but one purpose, and that is to pit one branch of government against another branch of government. I am also disappointed that there's made reference to this being broadly bipartisan, and if that was the case, I don't think that we should have a concern about a minority party potentially vetoing any recommendations that are made by this committee. So, while I'm disappointed in the actions taken today, fortunately for us, you have the opportunity to prove me wrong, Mr. Chair, and you can do so not by the actions taken today, unfortunately, but by all future actions, by ensuring that we are given equal opportunity to set an agenda, to discuss topics, and to make recommendations for this committee. As we move forward, I would expect that and nothing less from you, Mr. Chair, and know that I would never make agreements that limit the voice of my colleagues. I will always touch base with my colleagues, and my recommendations and negotiations with you will always be representative of all the members that serve on my side of the aisle. I look forward to future efforts of this committee and to working with all of you as we move forward.
I am disappointed yet again.
Democrats don't want to adopt the rules, Republicans do. So Republicans win every time. That's why this committee is illegitimate. That's why this committee is a joke, and it's a total waste of time, a bunch of paper pushing, a bunch of work as though they're doing something, and they're not doing jack squat. And I'm not the only one saying it. I think I'm splicing in some videos here at some point, but there you go. So I do the video, and then I splice in content where I see fit. I think I'm getting better at it. We'll see. So basically, to summarize what you just witnessed, is it's one branch of government against another branch. The legislative versus the executive, the House and the Senate versus the executive. It's a sham committee dominated by Republicans to bitch about the Democratic governor. And the hypocrisy level is like through the roof because they don't bitch about the president doing that very thing. And I only say that because Matt Hall loves bringing in federal matters like the Green New Deal. When it's AOC, Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, the progressive Democrat, he loves to complain about, he brings that in all day long. But never does he look at his own party. Never is he critical about it. Why? Like I said in my July 4th video, the Independence Day video, just like Justin Amash, he'd get his hand slapped. Now you're not getting your money. Now you're not getting your support. The machine is going to back away from you. He doesn't want that to happen. It's not about the people. It's not about the district. It's not about the state. It's about their party. It's about their power. That's kind of what I'm talking about. It's the House and the Senate, Republicans versus the Democratic governor. That's what this COVID-19 committee is about. It's about limiting the voice of their colleagues, the Democrats. It's about representative. It's not representative of all sides of both Democratic and Republican Party.
I am disappointed yet again.
So I'll wrap it up. I've said a lot. It's a lot for you to think about. Feel free to contact me, post in the comments, share this video. Think about voting Libertarian in 2020. Think about voting for me as your Libertarian representative. I think I would stir some things up. We could launch a third-party wave in the state, maybe. You'd give a Libertarian like me a platform. News media outlets would be willing to listen to me and my opinion, how I would represent you in the 63rd. I would try to, cut through the BS in Lansing. Something interesting to think about is Texas. Texas has a biennial, I think it's called, legislature. They only meet once every 2 years, once every other year. And they only meet for 140 days when they do meet. So that'd be like meeting for 70 days, 2 months, every year. And they get more done in Texas every other year in 140 days than our legislature gets in years of farting around. I don't think Texas has pointless committee meetings and silly resolutions and nonsense. And is a part-time legislature right for Michigan? Well, maybe. If you've got a limited amount of time and things to get done, you try to get them done because you don't have time to fart around. But we, as the people of Michigan, are giving our representatives, our representation, these parties, the people that care about party and power as opposed to process, the ability to just fart around and waste taxpayer dollars. And I'm not the only one saying it. So consider voting for a Libertarian. Consider voting for me, Wolf, the other four-letter word you want in this election season in 2020 as the 63rd House Rep. You can vote Republican all you want all day long on your ticket. Consider me in the State House Rep spot. Instead of the R, do the L. And if you're a Democrat, same thing. Consider voting for the L and not the D in the State House Rep 63rd. I think I am a better Democrat than your Democratic candidate and a better Republican than your Republican candidate. Thank you.